Hello everybody, how you doing? Today we are taking a look at some scripts, visuals, transform, gizmos. We're going to be taking a look at the first gizmo that's here, teleport. Just in case you want to know how to open up this tutorial level, basically all you're going to do is just go to create, go to tutorials, and then you got your script samples right here. Okay, once you click that and open it up, it's going to give you this world. So like I said, today we're going to take a look at the teleport. So just to understand how this works, you click the button, teleports you to another location, okay, that's in this world, in the same world. It just happens to be like way above where I was. And if I click this, it's going to teleport me back down there again. Click, and it teleports me back down here. The planetarium tower thing is like way up there. Anyways. All right, so we're going to go into build mode. And basically there's two pieces here, maybe I guess three. You've got this spawn point here. I'm going to explain how it works. You got the spawn point, okay, and then you also have the trigger itself, which is this little green piece, okay, and then you've got the script running this whole thing, which is the trigger respawn, which is this here, okay. So you can see that it goes all the way up to the planetarium that's up there. So basically what we're doing here, let's just take a look at this. When the trigger is entered by the player, respawn the player to the target. Okay, so I'm just going to explain all of these pieces that we can understand where we get them from, and we're going to duplicate them at the same time. So when you're writing a script, what you want to do is you want to start with when something is gonna happen, and then what's gonna happen, right? So the when is going to be this first tab here of events, and as you go through all these different events, you have all these different things that you can try, and the objective, I guess, is to learn them all. Then you've got the motion or action, which are both things that can happen at this period in time, right? During that event. So in this case, when the trigger is entered by the player is the event, is the when. So let's just go take a look for that. We've got collision events here when the trigger is entered by an object or when it's colliding with a player. But under player events, we have when triggers entered by player. So you're just going to click and drag that over. Okay. Oops. All right. So once you drag it over, what you have here is when triggers entered by player. Now, what is it that we want to do? There's actions and motions. This happens to be a motion. We're respawning the players, so we're moving them. And so we just need to go over and we need to click here and then respawn player under player motion. There's a whole bunch of different options again, but that's the one that we want. So we're going to drag that over. All right. So when the trigger is entered by the player, we're going to respawn. Ooh, player, it's empty. See, expressions cannot be empty. There's an issue here. In this instance, we have these things called pills, okay? Player, self, target, these are all pills. And typically, it's a variable that has a definition. So in this case, this is like a player ID that's been answered with player, which happens to be whoever touches it. And I can drag this pill into this section. So that just gives me an easy way to kind of like cut and paste answers real quick in here. So we now have the same script. When triggers entered by player, respawn player to target, trigger entered by player, player to, self. Okay, not the target. That's an issue. We don't want to respawn me back on myself. We wanted to do it to a target. And in this instance, to create a target, we need one of these spawn things. That's just how it happens to work. So if you open up your menu and go to gizmos, you're going to see that in here, you have a spawn point. There's scripts and triggers, which, we have here, but we need a spawn point. So we're going to grab a spawn point. We're just going to put it there for a second. Now, this target pill, like, where do you get this from? Like, what do you do, right? And you would think, oh, we want to bring it to the spawn point. So if I open up the menu that's on this, I see that there is, oops, I don't want to do that. I see that there's a spawn point here. So maybe I can just drag that over. No, you can't drag that over. And I'll explain why, because this was very confusing to me at the beginning. This is an object, okay? This is the object's information. So this is an answer. It's not a variable. There's no container for this answer to go into, and you can't just drag that answer somewhere. You have to, with the scripts, you have to have a variable that it uses in order to answer questions. So we're going to take the script and we're going to open up the variables section. And we're going to see that player and target are variables, possibilities that have been answered. And in the instance of target, it's been answered with another spawn point that's way up there. So we're going to create a new variable, and we're going to call it Steve. All right. And we're going to turn this thing into an object. So it's a variable, a box that holds an object. And what is that object going to be? Okay, Steve, what is the object going to be? It's going to be the spawn point. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go to the trigger. Now, here's another thing that was very confusing. Now that we have this variable, which is Steve, there's no answer. That's just like a box, but we still need an answer for that. And it happens to be on the trigger where all of the variables of this script that are attached to it get answered. So let's just open it up so you can see what I'm talking about. Here, oh, it's waiting to update or something. I don't know why it's being, okay, there we go. It was just being difficult. So here you're going to notice the variable Steve, okay, and it's empty. So we need to drag a pill into this spot, okay, because this is the attached script and we're defining all the variables. Now, the reason why is because that script could be attached to multiple objects. So the respawn could be attached to that trigger, and it could be attached to that trigger, and it could be attached to that trigger. And each trigger would have a different spawn point. So we would answer it differently on the object itself, in this case, the trigger. So we have to answer this one and say, where is the Steve object that we're going to respond to? And he so happens to be right here. So this is where you grab your pill from. So we're going to grab that spawn point. We're going to drag it into Steve. It connects Steve to the trigger, answering the script. Okay. And now Steve is where we want to send, not the self, to Steve. Why? Oh, sorry. I was just being difficult again. So we drug the variable over here, which is now answered as being this object. Okay, so we're going to close all these because this is just starting to get a little confusing, and I want to limit that. When triggers entered by player, that was already there, we're going to delete it. Wow, things are nice and slow today. Let's give that another shot. There we go. All right. So when the trigger is entered by the player, we're going to respawn the player to Steve. That's what the script says. These variables are the empty containers that I am going to define, and the empty container is on the script itself because the script has all of these variables that it can use. Okay? But since the script is attached to this object, this is the object that is going to give the answers to all of these variables. Steve is that thing, and target is that one way up there. We don't need this. We can get rid of it. All right. So when I touch that, the script will say, go to Steve. And this thing is saying, well, Steve is right there. So we're going to close this for a second. And what we're going to do is we're going to take Steve and we're going to bring him over here, facing this thing, and put ourselves right here so that we can go and touch the trigger. So when we touch a trigger, we're going to end up being over there, and we're going to face here. So boop. There we go. We've teleported ourselves. And that's it. That's how you do teleportation. Click, and it brings it over here. So I've changed that from going up to the planetarium down to just behind me over here, and that's it. I just touch it and it brings me over. Just a quick recap, just to make it nice and easy. Steve is over there. This box is the object that I have been messing around with, which contains this script. Okay. This script says what's going to happen and also defines all the variables that it has access to. But the answer to this script is on the object, because the object is the one that has that script attached. And that's it. So let's use another script. Let's use it's doing it again. Stop doing that. Let's use the follow script. There, see, all the variables have changed because the follow script has all of these variables. And now I want the trigger, the object, to define all of them. So I'm just going to switch it back to trigger respawn, which happens to be that script there. And now it's all empty again, so now I'd have to fill it out. So I'd have to grab Steve, take his pill, drag it in here to answer that, because this script is going to say, hey, you need to go to Steve. You need to go to Steve. And, right? So you need to go to Steve, and Steve's over there. Anyway, so that's it. Yeah, I hope that helped you guys a little bit. Let's see where my camera is. Click. Nice. I hope that helped you guys out a little bit. I think the thing that's kind of confusing for a lot of people is, where do you drag the pills from? How do the variables work, and like which variables you can drag into the little script blocks and things like that. And it's not so confusing when you understand a few of the little pieces, which is just that the variables are created by the script itself, and it's the objects that answer the variable. So if you understand that, you can create a whole bunch of objects, and you can put the script on all of them, and they each will use the script differently, even though that the script has all the same variables accessible for the objects. So I hope that makes sense. If you guys have any questions, comments in the section below. Obviously, Silly Toaster 33 is my in-game name. You can search my name, visit some of my worlds, take some pictures in the YouTube video, ask questions below. And I'm going to try to get out some more videos. So just leave me some suggestions on which of these maybe you guys want to play around with: audio, text, teleportation, colors, animation, etc., etc. All right. See you later.